For those of you that'd like to follow along, we'll now do the four-way test of the things that we think, say, or do. Is it truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? We'll now have the blessing by Mr. Fred Cartier.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, on this night we honor one of the members of our community who has done so much work, and we give thanks to her by our presence here today. We ask you to bless us, and we ask you to bless this food that we are about to receive. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
I would like to thank you all for coming this evening, and at this point I'd like to pass it on to Carl Dowden, the chair of the Red Hook Rotary Foundation.
Thank you. I also would like to welcome everyone here tonight on behalf of the Red Hook Rotary Foundation. This is the 17th year that we have been hosting a dinner and honoring someone in our community, and we're very pleased to honor Brenda tonight. Before we get started, a couple of reminders I've been asked to mention to you. If you bought raffle tickets for the cup raffle, we should put those in the cups soon. When we get dinner started, we're going to be doing the cup raffle during dinner. And also, if you did look at or didn't look at our auction table, there are a lot of fine items up there, and if you put down a bid, maybe you want to go back and check to see if you're still the highest bid and bid higher for if someone outbids you. And right before we start dinner, I'd like to, at this time, introduce Alyssa Cogan, who is representing State Senator Sue Serino and has a proclamation for Brenda.
Thank you. Good evening. Senator Serino could not be here this evening. It's actually her 19th wedding anniversary, so she sent me in her place, but with her best wishes. This is a proclamation, and although it's extremely long and I won't read it to you, this one statement I think exemplifies Brenda Cagle. Rare indeed is the impressive dedication shown by individuals for the benefit of others, which Brenda Cagle has displayed throughout her life. Congratulations, Brenda.
Okay, so at this time we will begin with dinner, and Lisa from Renner's Catering that is doing the dinner tonight will come to your table and send you up to go to the buffet line. Remember the cup raffle and the silent auction while you're waiting to go up for the dinner line. Thank you. Enjoy your dinner. We'll get started with the rest of our program now. What I'd first like to do is the young people who are serving tonight are from the Interact Club that we sponsor at Red Hook High School, so I'd like to thank them. And I'd also like to thank Renner's Creative Celebrations, who did the catering for the dinner tonight. Thank you, Lisa. I mentioned earlier that this is the 17th annual Citizen of the Year dinner that we've sponsored, and we have some of our past recipients with us here tonight. I'd like to honor those and announce their names. First we have Margaret Doty. And we have John Kuhn. Reverend Fred Cartier. Ruth O.J. Doug Struwinski. Sue Crane. And Lori Houston. And we also have a list of dignitaries here tonight, officials. First, I'd like to introduce the Honorable Jonah Triebwasser. And Honorable Jeffrey Martin, our other justice. And we have a couple of our town board members. We have Harry Cogan, Bill O'Neill, Dr. Jim Ross, Sarah and Bowden, and we also have Sue McCann, who's our town clerk, and Claire Horst, our deputy town clerk. Okay. And we have Teresa Burke, who is our highway superintendent. Nancy Roberts, our one clerk. And from the village, I'll save the mayor for later. He's got something special. Brent Kovacic is a village trustee. And Jen Norris, village trustee. And then we have Susan Israti from Tivoli, trustee. And I believe I got every. I apologize if I missed. Yeah. So.
Don't forget your county legislator.
She's coming up. Pardon me? Okay. One other thing before we get to our the presentations, when we'll bring up the mayors and the supervisor, and Mickey is the county legislator. I wanted to point out a couple things. There's information in your program booklet, but there are two projects that Rotary is involved in that I wanted to bring to your attention because we kind of emphasized those tonight. We have some posters around. Rotary took on, 30 years ago, the task to eliminate polio from the face of the earth. And it's been a little bit, thank you. It's been a little bigger task than we thought it would be back then. But we have recently, well, in the last quite a few years, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have teamed up with Rotary and the World Health Organization to help fund it. They, just back in June of this year at the Rotary International Conference in Atlanta, they pledged, I believe it was over $300 million. And the challenge to Rotary is that we raise $150 million over the next 3 years. So they'll match our money 2 to 1 if we can raise $50 million a year. So we're on our way for doing that. And today, Rotary every year has what they call World Polio Day. And it just happens that today, October 24th, is our Rotary World Polio Day. So there's a little write-up in there about that. And then also, another little kind of a coincidence, I know Brenda is always interested in the environment and has been very active in the tree commissions for both the village and the town. And the centerpieces on the table tonight are tree seedlings. And that's partly in honor of Brenda and the work that she's been doing, but it just happens that our new Rotary International president, who's from Victoria, Australia, is also very concerned about the environment and about climate change. And he's put out a challenge to all Rotarians, 1.2 million of us in the world, for each one of us to plant a tree in the next year. And so we've tied that together with Brenda's interest in the tree commission and Rotary's challenge to us, Rotary President's challenge to us to plant a tree. So we have seedlings on the table for that. So now let's move into the presentation of awards. We had several that were mailed in to us for you, Brenda. We have, I think I got these in orders. I'm not in politics, so I never know who's supposed to be first or second. So if I get it out of order, it's not a big deal. We have a nice letter to you from U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer. And we have a certificate of recognition from also U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. And a certificate of special congressional recognition from John Faso. And we also, our county executive, Marcus Molinaro, was going to try to be here tonight, but his schedule didn't allow that, so the envelope. We do have a proclamation from Marcus as well for you, Brenda. So we have these. I will present these to you. And we do have a few people with us tonight to make presentations. So why don't we start with Vicki Perry is here tonight representing Assemblyman Kevin Cagle. And I'll invite Vicki up to make her presentation.
Hey folks, and hey Brenda and family. When I knew I was presenting this certificate tonight, all I could think of was the kind of person that Brenda is, and it really is a service above self. It really is a woman who's given so much in such a self-effacing way. And if I were Brenda, I would already have said too much. She's that good at just doing what she does and not talking about it. So, so I hope later in the program Brenda does come up and say a few words to us, but I'm honored to give this to you and to thank you for the community, and also to thank the Rotary for honoring people of this stature. So there you go.
And at this time, I'd like to call up Mickey Struwinski, our county legislator.
Okay. Well, gee, if I knew Mark wasn't going to be here, I would have written a longer speech. But you know, we got Supervisor McKeon will probably cover that. First of all, I do want to thank Rotary for hosting this event every year and the young people that are involved in Rotary. It's really great to see them come out year after year and serve the meal and clean up after us. It's really just a wonderful event. But it's also a great honor to be here to speak about a community member who I do cherish as a good friend, Brenda Cagle. And how wonderful it is that she joins other environmentalists like Ruth O.J. and Lori Husted, who were honored in the past for this prestigious award. I've known Brenda for about, I don't know, I'd say about a dozen years or so, and I know her to be one of the most positive, passionate, and caring individuals, often putting yourself above others and really taking care of your husband and your sister. It's just admirable the amount of love that you share with everybody. And even though sometimes she disagrees on an issue, I don't think I've ever seen her cross or agitated about anything. I guess as close that I can come to roasting Brenda is that she explains her side of the issue with concise reasoning and a gentle kind of intensity. I found a wonderful interview at the New York State Urban Forestry Council website that you had an interview in March with Michelle Sutton. And one of the questions was related to your childhood influences and interest in conservation. And part of Brenda's answer was that she couldn't remember a time when she didn't feel connected to trees, hills, or nature in general, and noting that it's a spiritual kind of thing. And we feel that spirituality for nature and environment coming from you, Brenda. We see that whenever you're volunteering on a project or speaking so passionately about the work that you've done in our community. Further in the article, you talked about, education being something that really starts when the formal education is done. And we've been lucky that she teaches us a lot about the environment, and we've all learned a lot from you, so we thank you for that. You've been very involved in Red Hook, and we've been lucky. Your education started, your volunteerism started teaching young children in the school district about the environment and conservation, and you've extended out over the entire Hudson Valley getting involved in this. So we also thank you and Les for the times that you've opened your home to the community, hosting informational sessions on these issues and staging a place for us to do some things with local elections. And we thank Les, who we wish was here with us today, for sharing you with us. So on behalf of the 25 members of the Dutchess County Legislature and the people of Red Hook, I offer you this commendation from the legislature and me.
And at this time, I'd like to invite Robert McKeon, Red Hook Town Supervisor.
Thank you, Carl. I was going to begin with a quote from one of the few books that I understood when I was growing up and reading a great American novel, The Lorax. So I think we already know who will speak for the trees, or more importantly, who will work for the trees, the trails, the sidewalks, the planning, the environment, and that person is Brenda Cagle. There's a common theme with our citizens of the year each year, is that they are dedicated volunteers. They put their nose to the ground. They focus on the work that needs to be done. They ask for no recognition. In fact, many of them here today really shun that type of recognition, which is all the more reason why we need to do it. And so, Brenda, we're very proud of you, how you work. I think the best way that we can honor her going into the future is to continue to work diligently, work passionately, and work collaboratively for the future for Red Hook, because frankly, she does it because she wants the future available to generations, the kind of Red Hook that keeps all of us engaged, involved. We need to be diligent about what we're doing. We need to be sure that Red Hook is the kind of place that has all of us engaged. And you all out there are doing so much to that end that we need to really commend all of you, because Brenda is part of a wonderful community. So I salute all of you and all the work that you're doing here in the town of Red Hook. The Rotary has already been acknowledged. They're doing great work here. They're doing great work internationally. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the people in this building during the other days of the year. That's the Red Hook Fire Company. I don't think there's a better example of volunteering for your community than an organization that gets up out of bed, whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning or whether it's 3 o'clock in the middle of the day when they're at work, and they do it anywhere between 700 and 900 times a year. Think about that. We have individuals in one fire company that attend over 500 calls in a single year. That's really the kind of volunteerism that you don't find in every community. And I think Brenda would join me in taking a moment to acknowledge them. So, we have a proclamation for you, Brenda. It has a lot of whereases, and as you know, the folks that wrote whereases had white wigs, and I'm heading in that direction. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read it because I'm not going to embarrass you. But I just want to tell you how I feel about this young lady, which is that she's a woman of the future. Like I said last week, I think I've acknowledged, and I'm very proud of you. You know, Brenda drives an electric car, if you don't already know that. She knows where the future is, and she's helping us get there. So one thing I do want to tell you is that she's in my office pretty frequently. And the one thing that stood out to me is that every time she and I are together, we have a lot of laughs together. We get a lot accomplished. But she's got a wicked sense of humor, and don't let her fool you.
The proclamation. Thank you, Robert. Now I'd like to call up Ed Blundell, Mayor of the Village of Red Hook.
Hello, hello. Last time we were here in front of a microphone was Hardscrabble Day. I noticed I was sitting in the far, far back and couldn't really hear anybody, so I'm going to do a little sound check here, and hold on a second. Mainly because my right-hand man here is with me, Brent Kowalczyk, the deputy mayor. He's had a close working relationship with Brenda over many, many years before I knew her, I think. And they planted, I think, Brent, 500 trees here in the village of Red Hook? But anyway, I'm smiling because Brent, if you know him from our Panda TV broadcasts, he's our soft-spoken one that conveys a lot of detail, and I have a feeling he might do that tonight. We're not really sure, so I want to get the microphone so everybody can hear him, even in the far back. But anyway, it's great to be here again to honor another Citizen of the Year. And in the close table here, it's even better for Brent and myself because this year it's a village resident. Last year, Lori had been a village resident but chose to bail out and go somewhere into the town and do her green construction wherever she went to. But Brenda is with us, and Brenda Cagle still lives on Church Street Extension, and we love knocking on her door and talking to her. Like, I remember 15 years ago, meeting her and her husband, Les, and back then he was active and around, and he had this folded up lighter than light aircraft thing in his garage there, and he used to tell me he'd go out, he would assemble it and go flying around at the evening times, and I think he was responsible for some of the UFO sightings around Red Hook back in the day. But anyway, when I think of Brenda, I thought we'd do like a word association thing, but the first thing that comes to my mind is, of course, trees. You know, trees. Like Brenda, she's our consultant in many ways still, and even now, once in a while, we have to kind of disagree a little bit on what trees to take down. But the good part is we replace them all, and like I said, Brent will give you a real number. That's his realm, but we have done a lot of tree replacement. The second thing I always think of is energy options. You know, she's always in on the solar, on the next new thing, and it's really cool. She lived in Germany for a while, and I think she picked a lot of the European sense of the European outlook and things on solar and different things that we see even today. And then energy efficient vehicles. I remember she and Les had this, I think it predated the Prius. What was that thing? It was looked like a teardrop on wheels. It was some kind of a strange thing, and she would tell us about her insight. She would drive that around the village, and I think she would cause traffic jams trying to save energy even in the village. But anyway, and then lastly, I never really knew her two children too well, but we know the sacrifice and different things she's done for her husband Les, her kids, and then her sister who are going through some tough times. But it's really poignant to me that she's worked with energy and kind of gave up a lot of her, in my opinion, public life to take care of some family needs right now. But anyway, from my perspective, I know she's been working for decades, and she's made Red Hook a better place, and we're so proud of you, Brenda, and thanks for working with us in the village and Village Green and so forth. And to be fair, Brent has a little more info, and he wanted to stand up and talk, so I couldn't ignore that request. So he'll speak, and then we'll hand you our proclamation too, and we'll get a group photo. But Brent, you ready to go?
Brenda and I have been working together for quite some. Can you all hear me back there? Thank you. How's that? So Brenda and I have been working together for quite some time, and on various committees together and project committees together. But the thing that makes me the most proud is the collaboration that we've had with the Village Green Committee. There's a few other members here with the Village Green Committee, and as Ed had mentioned, we planted over 500 trees and within the last 14 years. So that's an accomplishment. And Brenda is still involved with the Village Green Committee in helping us organize and select the trees, talk to the neighbors to get their consent, and helping with delivery of the trees and also trees. And also, just real briefly, I want to thank Les Cagle for his support of Brenda. And Les unfortunately couldn't be here this evening, but his support and really enabled Brenda to move forward and help us all out in this community. So thank you again, Brenda.
Yeah, no, could you hear him? I turned it down a little bit now, but we do have our proclamation, and Brent will walk over and talk to her, but essentially it's a resolution recognizing Brenda Cagle for all the community service and the hard work she's done and made Red Hook a greater place and a better place to live. Thank you, Brenda, and welcome over. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to call up Joel Griffith, Mayor of Tivoli.
Thank you, Carl. Good evening, everyone. Hi, Brenda. First, I want to thank Red Hook Rotary Club for this tradition of recognizing the contributions of people in our community. It's so inspiring to me, and when I do the Village Citizen Awards, I think of what you do here, and I'm kind of stealing your act a little bit. It's a great way to make people keep helping, actually, I've found. Give them an award. A small roast, maybe. So a lot of us in what we do, you know, you write someone an email, you need to find out something, and they don't write you back. And you wait a couple days, and you wait a couple more days, and then you have to write that follow-up email. Brenda, you are so masterful at that second email. It's never angry, it's never threatening, it's just right there. And I've always had to answer the second email, so really good. I also want you to please acknowledge just how many of us made the schlep from Tivoli here. And that, I'm very, very proud of this. We've got one mayor, 2 trustees, the village clerk, we've got a green committee, a planner, a planning board. That's pretty deep. That's pretty deep. And we also have a little proclamation. It doesn't have whereases, so I'm just going to read it to you because it's better than anything I could come up with off the top of my head. On behalf of the Village of Tivoli and all residents of our community, it is my privilege to recognize Brenda Cagle for being named the 2017 Red Hook Rotary Citizen of the Year. This honor is deeply, deeply deserved. Brenda's service to the town of Red Hook and the 2 villages is well known and well appreciated. We are certainly grateful in Tivoli. Thank you, Brenda, for the innumerable times you have shared your knowledge and expertise with Tivoli's Green Committee, Tree Committee, and Village Board. Our community has been profoundly and lastingly touched by your service and generosity. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you. I believe that's all the proclamations. Did I miss anybody? Somebody raise their hand if I missed them. I had to apologize to Joel last year. I didn't have my list made up, and I forgot Joel last year, but I had him this year. I'm on track now. So, now we get into the kind of the fun part of it, too, where we have a few people that would like to say a few words about Brenda and their relationship with Brenda. And before I bring up the main acts, but I'd like to ask Sue Crane to come over. She wants to say a few words about Brenda.
He didn't tell me it was to be a few words. So before I begin, I really want to show tremendous appreciation to Red Hook Rotary. You are an unbelievable organization. Thank you. And if we get 1.2 million trees planted, I think part of the carbon problem will be solved. Brenda herself asked me to do the roast tonight, and I was honored, pleased, and didn't hesitate. We had worked together for years, and so, of course, materials should be plentiful. But to be on safe ground, I consulted a dictionary for definitions of the word roast. Beyond the expected references to baking, there were the following: roast, criticize somebody, to subject someone to harsh criticism. All of you who know Brenda know I'd have precious little material if working within that definition. Try criticizing Mother Teresa. Number 2, roast. Mock somebody. Make fun of someone. You cannot mock someone who is seriously competent and saintly in everything she does. You think I'm kidding. Brenda's idea of an expletive is, oh my lands. What is that, Brenda? What is that? Number 3, roast. Celebration, a gathering, party, or other celebration at which the guest of honor is the subject of speeches that alternate between praise and humorous criticism. Maybe we can do that. Brenda is a woman who does everything with thorough seriousness and strong, quiet intellect. She maddeningly researches and documents every issue on her thumb drive. It is therefore impossible to intellectually counterpunch her logic. She recognizes fake facts before you can finish a sentence. Brenda puts her time and energy and intellect into every project she undertakes. We have Brenda to thank for amazing efforts in tree restoration throughout not only the village, but throughout the entire town. Brenda, what a legacy. She and the tree committees have made astounding contributions, not only to the health and beauty of our environment, but also the overall well-being of our community. A tireless leader, Brenda quietly inspires others to join her. It is not an overstatement to say that Brenda is a friend to all responsible citizens with her commitment to projects that matter now and decades into the future. Her dedication to the town's Conservation Advisory Council has included hundreds of hours of work at our recycling center. She is an energy conservationist, leading proponents of energy audits and energy-saving strategies, setting an example by zooming around. It used to be a Prius, right? Yeah, she used to boast of getting something at 52 miles a gallon. Now it's electric. Unbelievable. While Brenda champions hanging out clothes to air dry, I happen to know she secretly uses her electric dryer for what she calls bits and pieces. Perhaps undergarments, I don't know. Bits and pieces. While a town board member, Brenda was the driving force for the construction of the sidewalks you now see on the east side of Route 9 South. An amazing achievement. And more amazing if you understand that she undertook to persuade the town board to commit major financing of that project at a time when budget austerity was our watchword. Only Brenda could have stated the case and the cost with such quiet confidence that the town board unanimously did not hesitate to take on that project. You did that. As town supervisor, I often called on Brenda to help me and join me in interviewing prospective town employees. She is astute and intuitive. Because her demeanor is so unassuming, she is able to take candidates completely off guard with quiet, probing questions like, I see that you seem to have been employed in 5 different positions in 97 and 98. Would you expand on that? No one had the nerve but Brenda to do that and got away with it. And sifted through a lot of junk. Brenda's devotion to family is well recognized. She brings the same energy to family projects that we have witnessed at Town Hall. No enterprise is too difficult or daunting. Her family and friends watched in awe as Brenda undertook total kitchen renovation with the frenzy of a dervish and completed it in time for daughter Katie's wedding. She and her husband Les have shared years of family joys and sorrows, sickness and health, working, playing, traveling, raising a family together as couples do. But moreover, Brenda, with her innate practical and sensitive manner, while undaunted by long distance, assumed responsibility and managed care for her frail sister in West Virginia. It has been my privilege to speak about and honor Brenda Cagle. Brenda, you have earned this recognition. You have served Red Hook with grace and distinction. You have been a bulwark for your family, friends, and community. You epitomize Citizen of the Year. God bless us, everyone.
Okay, next, we turn to the family. Who decided to go first? Katie's going first? Okay.
Can I raise this? Is that good? All right, can you hear me? A little closer. All right, is that better? Okay. I've witnessed so far that it's a little bit difficult for some of you to roast Brenda Cagle. My husband and I have a joke that Brenda Cagle will out-nice you to get you to do what she wants you to do. And I see that I probably don't have to explain what that means to this group of people. I can see that she's done it already. So, and don't worry, I only have like 30 pages here, so it shouldn't take too much time. But I'm going to say a few words about Mom. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Brenda's daughter, Katie. I had the privilege... You guys are easy. I had the privilege of growing up in the wonderful village of Red Hook, and even a greater privilege of growing up as Brenda and Les's daughter. But I would like to tell you, being Brenda's daughter was not always easy. You probably know a lot of her quirks as a colleague and a co-volunteer, but I thought I might shed a little bit of light on what home life is like with Brenda Cagle. I'm sure you've been curious, and share a few lessons that I've learned along the way from my beloved mother. So I have 4 lessons to share with you. Bear with me here. Lesson number 1 on running errands. Okay. So Mom often asked me to go along with her on errands throughout the town. To be fair, a lot of these errands probably had to do with picking something up for me, so probably fair that I was dragged along, that's fine. And I was always planning for the next TV show or the next friend date, so I would ask, okay, Mom, how long is this going to take? It won't be long, Katie, it'll be fine. We have to go to the post office and grab something at the IGA, like 20 minutes. All right, 20 minutes, I can commit that time away from TV, no problem. Off we go. I'm thinking this is 30-minute tops. We go to the post office, we pull up, without fail, on every single errand I've ever ran with my mom in Red Hook. As soon as we parked the car, walked toward the first stop. Hi, Brenda, how are you? So nice to see you. Great, great. She's too popular to walk around with. Super fun. So on and on this boring adult talk would go. Family updates, health scares, job changes, whatever these people were talking about. This never failed to annoy me, standing next to her, waiting for these conversations to end, Mom seemingly totally forgotten about the errands we were ever running. So who knows what we got done, I'm not sure. So lesson learned number 1, when you need some social time, tell people you're running errands. Lesson number 2, on getting sick. All right. When I was a sophomore in high school, I was very sick with appendicitis. It was very severe. My appendix actually ruptured. This resulted in an extremely fast trip to the hospital by my dad and emergency surgery. Luckily, I survived. Everything was fine, but I did have 10 days of recovery in the hospital, and I missed almost a month out from school. After about 3 days in the hospital, I think my mom noticed that I was staying awake for most of the day at that point. And so the very next day, what does she show up in the hospital with? Any guesses? Movie, chicken soup? Nope. Yeah, someone I think said it. She shows up with my calculus textbook. That's right. You might think that a hospital stay is a good time for movies and build up your strength, resting. You would be wrong. According to my mom, the math major, it's a really good time to make sure you get all your homework done. So lesson learned number 2, is a ruptured appendix and emergency surgery a good reason to fall behind in calculus? No, it's not. It is not. Lesson 3, looks don't matter. This is very important for anyone out there with young daughters. I never dated in high school. I used to think, well, maybe I was a late bloomer. But recently I've reflected on this a little bit more, and I have some new theories. Mom. So my mom always taught me that looks don't matter, which is a wonderful thing to say that I know now is not true at all. But she did a really good job of making me believe that at the time. For example, I didn't like brushing my hair. It tangled easily. Mom's solution? Don't brush it. No big deal. Looks don't matter. Just go out with tangled hair. Great. And sometimes I wanted new clothes. I grew out of mine. What was Mom's solution? Oh, just wear your brother's old clothes. They should fit you soon, and looks don't matter. Okay, that's good. And to really drive home the message that looks don't matter, Mom also led by example. Sorry. Sorry, Mom. She frequently took me to after-school events and other errands in her gardening clothes, complete with dirt-stained knees. So to solidify this in your brains here, I could often be seen leaving our house with tangled, messy hair, wearing a giant faded sweatshirt from my brother, accompanied by my garden-clad mom. It's not very hard to figure out why I didn't date anyone. So lesson learned, and this is a big one. Tell your daughter looks don't matter. Make her wear hand-me-downs from an older sibling, preferably a male. and wear your stained garden clothes when you hang out with her in public. This is the Brenda Cagle recipe for avoiding teenage pregnancy. And one more on volunteering. So I have some very early memories of being dragged to recycle committee meetings with my mom. I'm sure I could have been doing something much more fun with my time, but apparently this was important to her. Over the years, my mom's commitment to volunteering has continued to be quite the thorn in my side. When I was applying to college, Mom decided that we needed to volunteer to make my application stronger. What volunteer event did she choose for us? Cleaning up rat guts at the local raptor center. That's a great way to spend Saturday mornings. I remember one weekend I came home for a visit looking for some downtime and relaxation, and I was informed that I would be waking up at 7 a.m. on Saturday to plant trees. Really? Great. And you know she has that really nice way of asking you for something. Well, you don't have to, but I would appreciate it. Fine, Mom, I'll wake up at 7 a.m. and plant some trees. Fine. I also recall a family vacation where I was looking forward to some time with Mom. I had some work stuff I was going through and wanted to talk it out with her. That quickly got taken away by late-night emails between Mom and Paula on whatever grant they were writing at the time. Thanks, Paula. And then there was the time I came home to learn that Mom had taught herself Excel and PowerPoint. Excel to the point of pivot tables, which some of my colleagues still can't do. And I thought, wow, Mom could get a paying job with these skills. So Mom, what are you going to do with these newfound skills? What are you doing? Oh, I'm doing tree inventories. Of course. Why would you want to get a boring office job if you could count trees, right? So lesson learned, number 4, volunteering should be prioritized over sleep, family vacations, and certainly over paid jobs. And Robert told me I had to share something embarrassing, so I added in lesson 5 of the bonus lesson just last minute here. 1 year, so this will be quick. 1 year, Mom and Dad got invited to a big Halloween party. I must have been around 10 years old, a very innocent 10 years old, because I didn't quite understand what my mom had dressed up for as a costume for this Halloween. She had a big plastic clear tube hanging down around her, rolled up at the edges around her calves, and around her neck was a sign that said, "Practice safe sex." Yeah, my mom was a condom. On a related note, my dad was dressed up as a woman, so I mean... So there are a couple lessons learned in that one, but I'm not going to share them. All right, so of course it's fun to tease Mom about all these stories, but the true beauty of Brenda Cagle also lies within these fun little anecdotes. My mom always has time to stop and listen to a friend or a family member. She really cares about you and whatever it is you're sharing, and I already get the feeling that you guys know that. She and my dad were amazing and supportive parents, making sure we got our homework done, of course, but also supporting us in countless other ways, showing up to almost every event that I did, and Seth and I did a lot. Mom doesn't value people for looks or for money, and I like to think of those as very pure values. She really cares about who you are and what you've done, and that's what matters to her. Messy hair be damned, she won't care. And of course, Mom is a very hard worker, as you guys all know. She's extremely dedicated to the causes she puts her mind to. And she's a pillar of any community she stands in, whether that be our family, her friend group, and of course, the town of Red Hook. So I'm so proud of her. I wish there were more Brenda Cagles in the world. I'm sure it'd be an even better place. So love you, Mom. Congratulations.
And now we'll hear from the other child, Seth.
How's this? Can you hear me okay? So, good evening, everyone. My name is Seth. I'm Brenda's son. I was asked to say a few words here tonight. We are here to honor my mother, this year's Rotary Club Citizen of the Year, and Red Hook's biggest tree hugger. Okay? As you know, my mom is more deserving of this award than anyone in this town, having single-handedly planted, I think it's closer to 1.5 million trees around this town, sometimes at midnight, under a full moon, with me holding a flashlight, with some neighbors complaining and arguing even to the last. She's also a staunch freedom fighter for groundhogs and squirrels, as Paula knows. They thank her, we thank her. But actually, my mom really does embody everything that this award is about. You know her as a community volunteer, a former member of the town board, and she's actually better than all of you unless you are driving a fully electric vehicle. All right? Just ask her. But tonight I'd like to tell you a few things about my mom that you may or may not know. You see, I grew up in the Cagle family household before this concept of the single stream, okay? So ever since I've been in recovery, I've had to go to group anonymous therapy sessions for recycling recoverers, okay? Why? Because when I was growing up, I couldn't even throw away a single cotton tube sock that had a hole in it without getting past the garbage Gestapo. Okay? I mean, my idea of rebelling was throwing everything in one receptacle bin, garbage, recycling. I was real popular in college. All right? I am totally convinced that at that time when I was living in the Cagle household, you could have invited over the finest minds from NASA, brought in all their equipment, their computers, plugged them in, hooked them up, fired up all their fancy algorithms, and even they wouldn't have been able to compute all the rules necessary to throw something out properly or what goes in which recycle bin. Let me give you some examples. So let's say you finish the morning coffee and you've got a used coffee filter and coffee grounds. Hey, that's an easy one, okay? Those are both going in the same place. There's a stainless steel container on the counter. You're going to put it in there. The contents of that are going to end up in the backyard on a compost pile where they will faithfully turn into happy dirt, okay? But on the other hand, let's say you were eating a ham sandwich for lunch, and for some reason you just didn't finish it. There was a corner of it left over for some reason. Well, now you're screwed. Okay? Because what you have right there is a compound garbage problem. Those materials are not going to the same place. If you are lucky, you might be able to get the bread into the same compost stainless steel container if it has never come in direct contact with an animal product. The bread, on the other hand, it may be able to be put into the regular kitchen garbage if there's a sufficient backlog of recycled plastic bags under the kitchen sink. Oh, and by the way, no kitchen bags, recycled backlog under the kitchen sink. You are not throwing away anything that day. That's it, period. Plain and simple. Now we come to the ham. Total nightmare. You cannot throw that ham into the compost Why? Because it's going to spoil and rot and smell and attract vermin. We can't have that in the compost pile. But you also can't throw that in the regular kitchen garbage. Kind of by the same token. It's not garbage night yet, so you don't want that in your garbage stinking it up. So you've got a problem. What do? Garbage purgatory. Where is garbage purgatory, folks? It's in your freezer. Okay. So you're going to go over to the freezer, gently slide aside the ice cream, and look down and hope and pray that there is another recycled container in there, an empty half-gallon for milk or orange juice. If for some reason there isn't one there or it's full, that might require another trip to the store, and you might be about to chug a half a gallon of milk just to throw something away. Okay. So you get your ham, and you get into the freezer, and you push aside the ice cream, and you find this recycled carton, and it's there, and that is where you are allowed to throw away this little piece of ham, this dirty, dangerous ham. Now, that's a great idea, right? You keep it there, you freeze it, it's not going to stink anything up, and garbage day comes around, you can throw it out. Now that's a great idea, except for one thing. While you're in there looking around, you notice some things that really don't fit the description of the laws of garbage purgatory. You see something that is not grease, you see something that is not an animal product. It's long and black and really disgusting and ugly, and it kind of resembles bananas. All right? But these things have been in there since probably, it looks like 1992. They look like they are rotten, fully eaten, never made into pie, banana like hand grenades. Okay? So I'm serious. You want to pin a crime on my mom, you come over, go into our freezer, you steal these little banana rotten hand grenades, these frozen things. You know, then you go out and find somebody and you stick it up their tailpipe of their Toyota Prius. Okay? There's only one person that would ever be traced back to, and that's this year's Rotary Club Citizen of the Year. No question about it. So, learning all of these complex rules and algorithms, navigating all that, that's what made my sister and I smart and disciplined, resilient, and completely riddled with anxiety. Okay? So we thank you, Mom. The bananas thank you. The groundhogs and the squirrels thank you. The gods of garbage thank you very, very deeply for these profound gifts. In all seriousness, I was extremely touched by everything that everyone said here tonight about my mom. You really moved me. Thank you very much. Mom, we're very proud of you. Keep up the good, hard work. We love you. Congratulations.
Okay. Did anybody else want to make a quick comment for Brenda? Brenda's saying no. Okay. Okay, now it's your turn, Brenda. If you please come up. It's my honor to present this plaque to you, which reads, "The Red Hook Rotary Foundation and Rotary Club of Red Hook, Service Above Self, Citizen of the Year, Brenda Cagle, October 24th, 2017. Congratulations, Brenda. One more, actually I want to call Tim Lynch up, who's the president of our Rotary Club. Give you the honor, Tim.
I have the pleasure of inducting Brenda as an honorary member of the club for this coming year. Brenda, here's a pin for you. Congratulations. So you can have that.
Well, I'm here to say that you can't believe everything you've heard. And the kids blew my cover. Anyway, I was expecting to have to do more of a rebuttal, but the words were so kind. First of all, I have to say thank you to the Rotary, of course, and thank you for all your good work. I think someday we should turn the tables and call you Citizen of the Year. Several years ago, we had the opportunity to participate in the Rotary Exchange Program. We had a young lady from Romania, and I think we actually gained as much from the experience as she did, and she was probably the hardest working person I've ever met. She ended up getting a full scholarship to Swarthmore and went to law school. She's now, as far as I know, an attorney in New York City. So quite a success story. So after the Rotary, I have to thank my safety net people. And tonight they're here at this table. So you've met my son and daughter, and I have my wonderful son-in-law, Greg, here too. I'll deal with them later. And we have dear friends that came in from Alabama my old childhood friend from West Virginia, Libby, and her husband, Ted. He's been taking photographs. They came all the way from Alabama for the Citizen of the Year dinner. I mean, it so happens they also have a son in New Jersey, but... I've attended many of these Citizens of the Year dinners, and I always, even though I so appreciate this honor, I've come to think of them as a community celebration, and we all know that it takes a village. And I knew that as I looked out today at all of you, first of all, that I would be really nervous, which I am, but I also knew that I would be looking at the pillars of the community, those of you who make our town so special. I recently read, it seemed like everything I was reading after I found out I got this honor pertained to tonight. So I read this story from Mr. Rogers. I hope we all remember Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And he said that when he was young and he was scared about something he heard on the news, his mother told him, look for the helpers. You will always find people helping. So I thought about Red Hook and how rich we are with the helpers. First of all, I'm thinking about all the people who help with Rotary. There's historic Red Hook. There's the fire department. There's our wonderful new community center. There's our 3 municipal governments and all their committees. There's the Thanksgiving community dinner. There's scouts. There's school, and so many more. And so I thought that we're hearing some pretty scary stuff these days on the news, and that I am thinking that we, with all these helpers, that we don't have to be afraid, and we should be hopeful. So Les and I came to Red Hook about 41 years ago. We were both IBMers at the time, and a lot has changed in 4 decades. There's so many ways that a person can participate in community, and I like to call them resident participants. So you all know that I chose to focus on environmental issues. So I was thinking about why that was so important to me, and I think part of it had to do with growing up amid the beautiful hills of West Virginia. And it was a time when the kids could run freely and explore the neighborhoods freely, so it wasn't hard to feel a connection to nature. I have to say, go Mountaineers. But anyway, I had to smile when I was thinking about this time that I asked my dad. He must have been going out hunting. He wasn't a very big hunter, but I asked him, could he get for me a rabbit's tail for my bicycle handlebars? And he explained, well, that wouldn't work, but he could get me a squirrel tail. So it was a true West Virginia upbringing. But there was another defining moment in my life, and that is related to, I think, why I've chosen to work for environmental causes. And that was when we lived in Germany. It was 1986. Les was there on assignment with IBM. And the Chernobyl nuclear accident happened. So everybody in our little German town was very concerned because there was a huge radioactive cloud that covered much of Europe and, in fact, all of Germany. So we were very worried about children playing outside. We took all these precautions. When children came in, they had to leave their shoes on the doorstep and immediately come in and take a shower. So to me, that was a big wake-up call. And our assignment, Les's assignment with IBM was almost over, so I said to him, when we go home, I'm going to do something for the environment. Well, it was just a general statement. I was feeling passionate at the time. I really had no clue what it was going to be. So we came back to the U.S. The kids were young, and I started volunteering at Mill Road School. And that's where I met my soon-to-be very dear friend, Paula Schoonmaker. We staged environmental fairs there, and as I look back, I was thinking about this, I can't believe they let us do that. They gave us a gymnasium, they gave us this other huge room, I don't know what it was. We filled them with exhibits, of course with a lot of help, and for the next 2 days, every kid at Mill Road walked through these environmental fairs. So these were also the early days of recycling in Red Hook, and I just have to say that any time we mention the beginning of anything environmental in Red Hook, we have to say Ruth O.J., because she was there for the beginning of it all. So I get to call her now a fellow Cody, Citizen of the Year. So I found myself with Ruth climbing into this old, used semi-truck container to sort out the cans from the bottles, from the plastic containers. And I especially remember doing that one time in a snowstorm. And as I think Seth mentioned, unfortunately, that was before the days of single-stream recycling. So those were the humble beginnings, and it's so nice to know that after 4 decades, we are not only did this initial enthusiasm sustain, it has grown in momentum. And it's especially nice now to look around to see some new faces, see fresh ideas, but the momentum is still growing. So one thing I've learned is that this public service thing, it can suck you in. And, and there's kind of a joke about once they've got your number, well, that's kind of true. But I ask why about that a lot. Well, not a lot, but I ask why, and I'm thinking it has to do with it's such a rewarding thing, and the community appreciates it, and you're part of something bigger than just yourself or your little family. So, but you might end up seeing friends giving you refrigerator magnets that say, "Stop me before I volunteer again." That's what I got. But another thing I've learned, on a more serious note, is there is a large group of resident participants who go the extra mile, who give countless hours of public service with little fanfare. And we usually know and recognize our leaders, and we certainly have all of our local leaders are so dedicated and deserve recognition. But it also takes a strong support group to get things done. So I thought of one example that I was familiar with, and it's this small team that fixes lunch, that feeds the volunteers who plant hundreds of trees, that enables the village and the town of Red Hook to earn their Tree City designation. And they did this for about 10 years, 2 times a year, little fanfare. They were a great support team. And by the way, the support team was our long-term resident, Jean Dunce, and town clerk, Sue McCann. So whether it's planting trees They're installing solar panels or writing a trail plan, and yes, building that sidewalk. We are all trying to be so patient waiting for the sidewalk to be finished. We're hoping we can walk from the village to get ice cream before the snow flies, and at least the ice cream won't melt. But behind all these ideas that come to fruition, there is always a team. So I know everybody wants to know about the auction results and everything, so I thank you for this very special honor. And although my friend and long-term co-worker Lori Houston says she's not in this for the fame and glory or the money, I say, well, I was so happy to get this honor, but I was really hoping that there would be a t-shirt involved. Sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands. So I made my own t-shirt, and I have a bunch of others for the fellow Codys. And where's Chris Shaw? I probably did some faux pas about intellectual property, putting the Rotary symbol on there. So we started out with Mr. Rogers, and I want to conclude with Muhammad Ali, who said, I have to read it, "Public service is the rent we pay for being here on earth. So thank you all for being such good tenants."
A couple of last-minute things. I first would like to, I didn't do it earlier, I'd like to recognize the Rotarians that are in the room tonight. If everybody could, Rotarian, please stand. And our official photographer has informed me that we need to do some group pictures after we break up here. So we need Brenda and her family and friends, all Rotarians, and we'd also like the past Citizen of the Year recipients. If you could all come up, and we'll do a couple, 2, 3 group. That concludes our evening. I just want to mention to everybody that the Red Hook Rotary, our regular meeting space, the Black Star Social, as most of you know, they closed. So we moved north. We're now meeting in the village of Tivoli at Murray's. Anybody who wants to join us on a Tuesday morning for breakfast at 7:30, we're at Murray's. And I almost forgot, Susan, I'm sorry. The tree seedlings that are on your table, we couldn't come up with a good way to figure out who at the table should get it, so I guess it'll be a wrestling match or whatever, but somebody at the table, please take it home and plant it for us. Thank you. Have a safe trip home.